racing against time to save flood victims in Brazil.
Emergency committee disclosed around 90 people have been rescued since Friday. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. The Philippines summons China's Chargé d'Affaires after CCG's bullying in the West Philippine Sea.
The Philippines holds the first quarter of simultaneous earthquake drills to raise disaster preparedness standards.
4 suspects in the Crocus City Hall attack appear in a Russian court to face terrorism charges.
Russian spacecraft Soyuz MS-25 blasts off from Kazakhstan.
And the newest potential James Bond candidate sets the internet in a frenzy.
Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Nevada,
España,
Paris, France,
United Kingdom,
Washington, D.C.,
London Bureau, Papua New Guinea,
In New York,
Washington, D.C.
Mata ng Agila, Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng Agila International.
Trusted, connected, on point.
China has launched a new offensive against the Philippines after water cannoning a Philippine Navy ship within its exclusive economic zone during a resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal on March 23, 2024. Video footage from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, showed Chinese Coast Guard ships maneuvering to block the Unaiza-May Force path. Aerial images show the moment of the attack, with a Chinese ship getting close to the Philippine ship to fire the water cannon, injuring some of the Filipino sailors. The Unaiza ship sustained significant damage from the water cannon. The resupply mission was successful as the necessary supplies were safely delivered to BRP Sierra Madre in the Ayungin Shoal. Meanwhile, Chinese maritime militia was caught deploying and installing floating barriers to prevent further entry of any vessels in the shoal.
The Philippines summoned China's Chargé d'Affaires in Manila to protest over Beijing's recent aggressive actions against a Filipino resupply mission in the Ayungin Shoal. The Philippines Foreign Ministry said China's continued interference with the Philippines' routine and lawful activities in its own exclusive economic zone is unacceptable. The Philippines also lodged a diplomatic protest against China. Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. also dared China to take its claims of sovereignty in the South China Sea to international arbitration. Meanwhile, the United States, the European Union, France, Japan, Australia, and about 16 other countries have expressed support to the Philippines and the rule of law, urging China to respect laws on sea safety. Through their respective embassies in the Philippines and on social media, they expressed concern over the Chinese Coast Guard's use of water cannons against a Philippine vessel on its way to deliver supplies at the grounded BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. Last week, a Chinese Navy ship tailed the Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources vessels en route to Pagasa Island for a maritime patrol mission and marine scientific research. The Pagasa Island and its area are considered a critical biodiversity area, crucial for the sustainable supply of fish in the Philippines. The PCG has repeatedly reiterated Philippine ownership over the area, adding that the Philippines has the sovereignty rights to do scientific research within the waters in Pagasa Island. Despite the dangers from Chinese vessels, some teachers from Quezon and Palawan volunteered to be deployed to the Pagasa Island Integrated School. The said place is located in the Kalayaan Island group, where foreign vessels have continued to roam its waters. To date, the Pagasa Island Integrated School houses 83 students in 2 classrooms, with more students expected to enroll moving forward as the island welcomes more residents.
Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Parehedar has docked in Manila to launch a joint maritime drill with the Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG. The port visit is aimed at reinforcing the collaboration of the two Coast Guards. As part of an initiative is the signing, or part of the initiative is the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement between PCG and ICG for enhanced maritime cooperation last August 2023. The two Coast Guards are also due for joint maritime search and rescue training, joint exchanges in ship diving areas, cross-training on navigation, and the like. There will be also a coastal cleanup in the Dolomite Beach in Manila Bay. The PCG clarified that India's visit to the country has no connection with the issues in the West Philippine Sea.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has joined global leaders in denouncing the terrorist attack in Russia that left at least 137 people dead. The Afghan branch of ISIL has claimed responsibility for the assault, a claim confirmed by United States officials. President Marcos expressed deep sorrow over the tragic loss of innocent lives in the devastating attack at the concert hall in Moscow. The Department of Foreign Affairs has verified that no Filipino nationals were among the victims, but urged the local Filipino community to exercise heightened vigilance in the aftermath of the attack.
Filipinos in Kuwait are urged to avail of the Kuwaiti government's visa amnesty program. This initiative allows Filipinos with expired visas in Kuwait to regularize their stay or leave without paying penalties. It also allows those with expired visas to have the option of legalizing their residency by paying fines. The said amnesty program runs from March 17 to June 17 of this year.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. enacts 5 laws approving the renaming of several circumferential and bypass roads, a bridge, and a national highway nationwide, and establishing one barangay in Mindanao. The chief executive approves renaming Bohol Island Circumferential Road as the President Carlos P. Garcia Road, Ordaneta City's bypass road, to Ambassador Eduardo Dangding M. Cojuangco Jr. Avenue, Iligan City's Tambacan Bridge to Mariano Luch Badella Senior Bridge. President Marcos also named the national highway to Speaker Arnulfo Noli Fuentebella Highway and established Barangay Ginhalinan in Surigao del Sur. The legislation mandates the Commission on Elections to oversee a plebiscite in Barangay Ginhalinan within 3 months of its enactment, in which the municipality of Barobo will cover the cost of the plebiscite. The mayor of Barobo will appoint barangay leaders until new officials are elected and duly qualified.
The Philippines has recently held its first quarter nationwide simultaneous earthquake drill to enhance preparedness for seismic events across the country. In Quezon City's Camp Aguinaldo, a thorough evacuation drill was conducted followed by communication exercises to assess government protocols and coordination. This initiative was geared towards ensuring the readiness of authorities to respond swiftly and effectively to the occurrence of a significant earthquake. In particular, the potential impact of the big one stemming from the movement of the West Valley Fault. Science and Technology Secretary Renato Solidum Jr. also urged the public to cooperate with the government to enhance preparedness against earthquakes and other natural disasters.
Before the long weekend starts, there will be a big-time price hike on oil products. The Department of Energy said motorists would expect to pay 2 pesos and 20 centavos for gasoline per liter. Diesel per liter, on the other hand, would go up by 1 peso and 40 centavos. Meanwhile, kerosene price per liter could increase by 1 peso and 30 centavos. The Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau noted that the price adjustment was due to international events. This includes the Ukraine drone attacks on Russia's oil refinery last week, as well as oil crude exports cuts by Iraq. Coming up, Russia's court charges 4 men over Moscow's weekend attack. Hundreds of captured children in Nigeria have been freed. And the UN takes a strong stance against Israel's war on Gaza. Stay tuned, Matanang Agila International will return for more global news.
umabot ng 1 milyon ng mga subscriber ng Net25 YouTube channel. Let's subscribe together here on Net25.
We're in the sky. Lumilipad na naman tayo. Sino ba itong uupo ngayon sa ating iconic chairs?
Finally, nag-guess na rin ako dito. Just canceled everything for you.
Talaga, ay naku, nakakatuwa naman. Medyo kakaiba ang ating papasukin ngayong araw. The Goodwill Resort with the Goodwill Cast. Woo! Tinur niya tayo sa kanyang bagong buhay.
Mundo.
Tamang-tama, pinag-uusapan sila ng lahat ngayon. Tingnan ka!
Ayan na.
Ayan na. Alam mo talaga siya, no? Yes! Tatlong buwan! Kinasal ka na? Yes! Ngayon natin malalaman ang totoo. So now, let's spill the coffee.
Spill the coffee.
Yes. And we're here at Net25. Ito ang tahanan ng Corina Interviews.
Let's net together. Sa Net25. Sa Net25.
Si Jihan, masayahin, maalaga, mapagmahal, at punong-puno ng sigla. Pero nang dahil sa di maipaliwanag na pangyayari, buhay kaya niya ay mauwi sa kawalan ng pag-asa? One Liter of Tears premieres April 1, 9 p.m. on Net25. Open for business with Cesar Vallejos every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Let's net together. Sa Net25. Sa Net25.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. State news agencies report that 4 suspects in the deadly Moscow concert hall attack have appeared in a Russian court to face terrorism charges. Rosel Feria has the details.
The TASS news agency says the pair of suspects are charged with participating in a terrorist attack. The court released a video showing police officers bringing one of them into the courtroom in handcuffs. Authorities say the suspects are foreign nationals. According to Russian media, some of the suspects are from Tajikistan, a majority Muslim former Soviet republic that borders Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the death toll in Friday's attack has risen to at least 137. The victims include 3 children. All died when camouflaged gunmen stormed the Crocus City Hall in a northern Moscow suburb and then set fire to the building.
Оперативно оказали первую помощь, обезболили и передали специализированное, соответственно, так понимаю, ожоговое отдел. Врачи очень заботливые, действительно помогают по любой просьбе, когда что-то нужно. Вот. И, как мне кажется, лечение проходит успешно.
Russia's investigative committee also says that guns and rounds of ammunition had been found both there in a car that was used by the suspected gunman to flee the scene. The Islamic State group posted Saturday on Telegram that the attack had been carried out by 4 IS fighters armed with machine guns, a pistol, knives, and firebombs. They say the attack is part of the raging war with countries fighting Islam. On Sunday, Russia observed a national day of mourning. Outside the concert hall, a steady stream of people added flowers to a makeshift memorial.
Это всероссийская, всемирная, мне кажется, даже уже трагедия, которая произошла. Очень тяжело все эти 2 дня читать новостные ленты, смотреть все это, слезы на глазах наворачиваются. Конечно, пришли почтить память погибшим.
Rosel Feria for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dispute over medical school plans in South Korea continues as senior doctors at major hospitals are starting to submit their resignations en masse. Local reports say the resigning doctors are supporting their medical interns and residents who have been on strike for 5 weeks over the Blue House's decision to increase medical school admissions. The resignation won't likely cause a stoppage or worsen hospital operations in South Korea, since the senior doctors have vowed that they would continue to work even after leaving their jobs. The government of South Korea also deployed military doctors and extended the hours of public hospitals to help their medical system. In a meeting on Sunday, representatives of medical professors and doctors at some 40 university hospitals showed support for the striking doctors, insisting the government's recruitment plan would collapse South Korea's medical system.
North Korea's Kim Jong inspected a tank unit noted for being the first to enter Seoul during the Korean War. In his speech, Kim stressed the importance of upholding and enhancing the immortal achievements of the Pyongyang's founders, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. He called for perfecting preparations for combat and urged Pyongyang's 105th Tank Division to set an example for the entire army. State media showed Kim reviewing South Korean attack plans. Kim also oversaw training exercises focused on overcoming obstacles and executing high-speed breakthroughs. Kim's entourage included high-ranking officials such as Pak Jong-chon, Vice Chairman of the Workers' Party's Central Military Commission, Defense Minister Kang Sun-nam, and Chief of General Staff Ri Yong-gil.
The United Kingdom is set to unveil a substantial investment of $252 million in its nuclear deterrent and civil nuclear industry. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak will outline a comprehensive strategy aimed at safeguarding the future of both the nuclear submarine building and nuclear energy sectors, a move projected to generate 40,000 employment opportunities. As part of this initiative, the government will establish a dedicated fund for Barrow in a Furnace, situated in northern England, to bolster employment prospects, enhance transportation infrastructure, and facilitate housing development. Furthermore, the UK will collaborate with key industry stakeholders, including BAE Systems, Rolls-Royce, EDF, and Babcock, committing an additional $962 million towards skills enhancement, job creation, and educational initiatives by the year 2030.
Poland says it wants an explanation from Moscow after a Russian cruise missile fired at towns in western Ukraine breached Polish airspace overnight. Poland says the missile is part of a Russian bombardment of targets in Ukraine as Moscow steps up its attacks on its western neighbor. Julian Bukayan has more.
Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz met with reporters on Sunday. He says his country kept the missile under constant surveillance. The minister says the weapon remained in Polish airspace for about 39 seconds. He says if there had been any indication the missile had been headed for a target on Polish soil, it would have been shot down immediately. The missile had been traveling at about 800 kilometers an hour and strayed about 2 kilometers over the border into Poland. A similar incident occurred last on December 29 when a Russian missile penetrated Polish airspace for several minutes before returning to Ukraine. Julian Bukayan from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In Armenia, attackers detonate a hand grenade outside a police station in the capital, Yerevan. This, the country's government says, is an attempt to seize the building. Estela Dominique has more.
The Armenian Interior Ministry says at 5 p.m. local time, 3 armed men attempted to storm the Northwestern District Police Station and detonated a hand grenade. It says 2 of them were wounded as a result of the explosion and were hospitalized. Reports say that a man in military fatigue was standing at the entrance to the building and shouted threats to detonate a hand grenade. He was later disarmed and detained. Interior Ministry spokesman Narek Sargsyan says the man was in an inadequate state and it was impossible to understand what he was demanding. Sargsyan adds that there were no wounded among the police. Estela Dominique from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Kenya's proposal to spearhead a multinational force in Haiti under a UN mandate is encountering significant resistance domestically amid escalating violence in the Caribbean nation. Kenyan President William Ruto extended an offer last year to dispatch 1,000 police officers to collaborate within Haitian law enforcement in quelling the armed gangs that have seized control of Haiti capital Port-au-Prince. However, the opposition factions within Kenya have leveled accusations against Ruto, alleging ulterior financial motives behind his initiative. They contend that the deployment to Haiti violates constitutional principles and assert that addressing the crisis necessitates a military intervention rather than a police mission.
More than 130 school children kidnapped by gunmen in northwestern Nigeria earlier this month have been freed. Nigerian officials say the children have not been harmed. Mark Castillo reports.
The mass abduction at this school in Kurika, Kaduna State on March 7th was one of the biggest attacks on a school in years. It sparked a national outcry over insecurity. The Nigerian army released few details of a rescue operation other than to say the children had been freed in the early hours of Sunday. Teachers and residents previously said around 280 pupils between the ages of 8 and 15 had been kidnapped when armed criminals stormed the school on motorbikes. Discrepancies between the number of people kidnapped and released are common in Nigeria due to unclear early reports and the return of those who go missing while fleeing attacks. But it is not clear why there was such a large difference between the figures this time. An army spokesman says all the captives have been rescued. He says no troops had been wounded but did not comment further, citing what he called the ongoing operation. Mark Castillo from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Supporters of presidential candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye filled the streets of Senegal's capital, Dakar, in celebration as preliminary results hinted at a lead for the opposition contender. The scenes of celebration unfolded as millions of Senegalese cast their votes to choose the nation's 5th president.
Bah, elle est presque acquise, hein, parce que d'après ce qu'on voit, d'après les chiffres qui viennent de tomber là, mais je vous dis qu'il n'y aura pas de deuxième tour. On va gagner ou bien on pourra gagner à plus de 60%, Inch'Allah. On est sûr de ça.
At least 5 out of the 17 candidates competing in the race have released statements extending congratulations to Faye, acknowledging Faye's apparent lead. However, former Prime Minister Amadou Ba, the main rival of Faye, cautioned against premature celebrations, asserting that the election outcome will ultimately favor them, with a potential runoff being the worst case scenario.
With 2024 set to see more elections worldwide than any previous year, vote-seeking politicians are stepping up their rhetorical attacks on immigrants. The United Nations Migration Chief says anti-migrant rhetoric is fueling the campaigns of many candidates. Thomas I. Likeness has that report.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done.
In the United States, voters are being treated to statements like this on a regular basis from presumed Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. And it seems to be working for Trump. Immigration has become one of the top issues people are concerned about going into the 2024 presidential election. But this kind of talk is not only being heard in the United States, politicians around the world are beating the anti-immigrant drum. Amy Pope is head of the UN's International Organization for Migration. She says about half the global population is due to go to the polls this year, And she says anti-immigrant talk seems to be a crowd pleaser.
The anti-migrant sentiment is an easy one for any politician to lean into, and it's particularly true because migrants don't vote.
Pope says for politicians, it's easy to blame society's problems on newcomers, whether it be crime rates, inflation, unemployment, or insecurity. And she says no one seems to be pushing back on these claims.
So that's the bigger concern. It's not what's playing out in real life, it's how that is being pulled into political rhetoric and being used to fuel campaigns.
Pope says in some countries where anti-migrant rhetoric is rampant, they actually need more immigrants to keep their societies thriving. She notes the significant labor shortages in countries across Europe.
Quite simply, the birth rates are not keeping up with the population demands or the economic demands.
In the United States, Trump has claimed there's an invasion at the southern border, and he suggested recently that some of those entering the country are not people. And Pope warns that such comments can have serious consequences.
We see that when there's dehumanizing of any population, there are increasing reports of violence, increasing reports of discrimination.
Pope says a more positive narrative around migration is vital, as is creating more safe and legal migration pathways for people to travel. She says the number of people on the move is at a historic high, and the pressures on them to move are only going to grow. But sadly, it's unlikely anti-immigrant politicians will change the scripts of their stump speeches. They will continue to spout xenophobic tropes in hopes of reaping votes.
I think the real numbers.
Thomas Eyelikeness from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Yep.
Chelsea Clinton defended Barron Trump, son of former United States President Donald Trump, for being harassed by the press and on social media. A former news agency executive commented on Barron's 18th birthday, saying that he's fair game now. Chelsea, the former United States first daughter, was asked how the press should cover Barron after he turned 18 this week. Chelsea Clinton argued that Barron is not involved in Trump's politics and has an unimpeachable right to privacy. She added that since Barron is a private citizen and not involved politically, he should be left alone.
The United Nations Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, has reported that Israel has prohibited aid deliveries in northern Gaza, where the risk of famine is most severe. UNRWA Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini confirmed this, saying that Israeli authorities have conveyed their refusal to authorize any food convoys to the besieged city.
And yesterday morning, I was informed that my access into Gaza would be denied. I hear that the COGAT said that it has been denied just because we have not filled the right form, or at least that was a public explanation. But be reassured that all the members of my delegation were authorized to enter, except the Commissioner General. So basically, it's a denial of access. I wouldn't take it personally, but to the Commissioner General of UNRWA.
While Israel has yet to respond directly to Lazzarini's remarks, it has previously accused UNRWA staff members of involvement in the October 7 Hamas attack, branding the agency as a front for the militant group. In light of deteriorating conditions, the United States has also urged the Israeli government to permit entry for the UN Food Agency into Gaza to address the escalating humanitarian crisis.
As heavy fighting rages Sunday in the Israel-Hamas war, UN Secretary General Antonio Gutteres makes another call for a humanitarian ceasefire. Gutteres calls for a surge of aid into the besieged territory he says is shocked by horror and starvation. Kimi Oria tells us more.
During a visit to Egypt, Gutteres urged an end to what he calls the non-stop nightmare endured by Gaza's 2.4 million people.
Looking at Gaza, it almost appears that the four horsemen of war, famine, conquest, and death are galloping across it.
Gutteres urged Israel to allow in more humanitarian aid via the Rafah border crossing, where trucks are queued up. He says both sides should agree to put down their weapons.
The whole world recognizes that it's past time to silence the guns and to ensure an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
Gutteres also called for the immediate and unconditional release of the hostages. Israel's military blasted back on social media, saying the UN should scale up its logistics and stop blaming Israel for its own failures. Israel has faced ever greater global opposition to its military campaign as Palestinian civilian deaths have soared and its siege has brought widespread malnutrition and hunger. Gutteres says the daily assault on the human dignity of Palestinians is creating a crisis of credibility for the international community.
It is challenging the values we proclaim as universal. It is challenging international law. It is challenging core humanitarian principles. It is challenging our basic humanity.
The UN chief visited the Rafah border crossing with Gaza on the weekend. Kimi Oria from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
McDonald's stores across Sri Lanka closed after the U.S. fast food giant lodged a legal battle with its local franchise holder over accusations of poor hygiene. The Commercial High Court of Colombo ordered the closures until April 4. As of now, there is no indication if or when McDonald's stores in Sri Lanka may reopen. A court official said lawyers for McDonald's told the court that they had terminated a franchise agreement with local company Advance last week. The hearing is set to resume in early April.
Former United States President Donald Trump is reportedly about to be $3 billion richer after investors approved making Trump Media a publicly traded company. Trump Media owns and runs the billionaire social media platform Truth Social. Filing records say the new company will be called Trump Media and Technology Group and trade under the ticker DJT, which are Trump's initials. The merger agreement calls for Trump to own roughly 79 million shares of the DJT company, or potentially tens of millions more if certain goals are hit. Sources say the merger could close as soon as early next week. But legal experts say Trump won't be able to monetize the stake right away, meaning Trump could not meet the Monday deadline to post the appeal bond on his $464 million civil fraud fine. The situation means the former U.S. president may lose some of his properties and assets since New York Attorney General Letitia James made it clear that she is ready to seize Trump's properties if he fails to post bond. Up next, rescuers are in a race against time in Brazil. Protests erupt around Israel calling for early elections. And overdose-related deaths in Toronto see a massive spike. Matana Agila International will be back after a short break.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Ba't ba napakainit ang ulo mo?
Hindi mainit ang ulo ko. Mainit ang panahon.
Oo nga pala. Tag-init na nga pala ngayon. Dahil dyan, may tips kami para sa'yo. Ngayong Fire Prevention Month.
Bunutin sa saksakan ng mga appliances pagkatapos gamitin.
Iwasan ang pagkakasaksak ng maraming devices sa isang extension cord.
Itabi ang mga flammable items sa ligtas na lugar.
Laging isara ang gas tank kapag hindi na ginagamit.
Magkaroon ng fire extinguisher.
Stay cool and chill.
Huwag makisabay sa init ng panahon.
Hindi biro ang naging tapatan ng mga P-pranksters ng Oh no, it's BO, biro only. Wala namang kuprak sa akin dito, no? Ha? Wala ba? Wala ba kamera dito? Ikaw muna. Kung ikaw ay may hippopotamonstrosa squib aliophobia. O, ito para may iba lang bago tayo maganon. Spell hippopotamonstrosa squib aliophobia. Sige, 30,000 pesos.
Direk, pwede po pa papalang po yung screen.
And this is not a game! Agad-agad!
Let's get together. Sunday 25.
Rescuers in boats and aircraft raced against the clock Sunday to help isolated people in Brazil's mountainous southeast after storms and heavy rains killed at least 20 people. With more rain predicted, the deluge pounded the states of Rio de Janeiro and Espiritu Santo, where authorities described the chaotic situation due to flooding. Elise Danielle reports.
Here you can see the destruction wreaked by the storm in Petropolis, a community near Rio de Janeiro. Landslides destroyed scores of homes and killed at least 4 people. Search teams there rescued a girl who has been buried for more than 16 hours under the debris. Dozens of soldiers and firefighters, aided by dogs, worked Saturday in the pouring rain. There is a risk of more landslides. Part of the cemetery in the town has been washed away. Across the country, thousands have been left homeless by the downpour. In this suburb of Rio, people will have to wait for the flooding to subside before they can begin mopping up. The deluge came as South America's largest country suffers through a recent string of extreme weather events. In a post on X, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva says such environmental tragedies are intensifying with climate change. He says his government is working with state and local authorities to protect, prevent, and repair flood damage. Elise Danielle from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In other news, a cement truck hit a pre-kinder school bus, killing 2 and injuring at least 51 passengers in Texas. Authorities said the bus was returning from a field trip to a zoo when the cement truck veered into the vehicle. Reports said a man and a boy in another vehicle died from the vehicular crash. Medical responders rushed to the site. 4 people were reported in critical condition. Hayes Consolidated Independent School District disclosed that there were 44 students and 11 adults aboard the bus. Authorities said they are cooperating with the truck driver about the incident.
Thousands of Israelis rally in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem for their weekly Saturday night protest against the government. They are calling for early elections and a deal to release the hostages. Angel Membreri has more.
In Tel Aviv, the protesters demonstrated outside the defense ministry. Dozens then proceeded to block a highway. They lit bonfires in the streets before being dispersed by police. Tel Aviv police say they arrested 10 protesters. In Jerusalem, a dozen people ended up in police custody. Protester Ofra Sheffer says she doesn't believe the conflict in Gaza is a war. She says it is a fight for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's survival. Shaffer says the country needs an election and to get rid of Netanyahu. University of Tel Aviv professor Oren Kobler has been protesting for several weeks now. He says the government is responsible for the failure of October 7th and everything that led to it. He says that's why Israel needs to change its government. Kobler adds that a government that respects itself should resign. After clashes between police and protesters a week earlier, authorities beefed up police presence in both cities this past weekend. Angel Membreri for Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In Toronto, Canada, a drug alert has been released after an alarming increase in opioid overdose-related fatalities this past week. Yolanda Espiras has that story.
A more potent and powerful synthetic drug has been detected in Toronto, and that it could be linked to 6 opioid overdose-related deaths this week alone. Toronto Public Health released an official drug alert because of an increase in drug overdose-related deaths in the city between March 14 to 17, which is triple the current average seen in the past 3 months. Toronto Drug Checking Service has identified 2 high-potency synthetic nitazene opioids, and desetyl-etonitazene and protonitazepine, which have a combined potency 30 times stronger than fentanyl. Fentanyl is a known synthetic drug used for pain relief. It is 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more powerful than heroin. Therefore, this new synthetic drug has a much higher risk of overdose, especially for people who use other medications that make them less tolerant to opioids. The substance was first identified at a community health center in Parkdale, Queen West, Toronto. Toronto Public Health warns that overdoses are occurring throughout the city. In Toronto, Ontario, Yolanda Aspiras from Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Russian spacecraft bound for the International Space Station Soyuz MS-25 blasted off from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The launch, originally set for Thursday, was stopped by an automatic safety system 20 seconds ahead of the appointed liftoff. Roscosmos noted that a voltage drop in a power source triggered the abort. The crew consisted of NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson, Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Novitsky, and spaceflight participant Marina Vasilevskaya of Belarus. The ISS is one of the last remaining fields of collaboration between Russia and the West. This is amid Moscow's military action in Ukraine.
The National Health Service, or the NHS, has tested AI tool Mia and successfully identified tiny signs of breast cancer in 11 women, which had been missed by human doctors. Mia, the AI tool, analyzed the mammograms of over 10,000 women. During the testing, most of the women included were cancer-free. But Mia flagged all of those with symptoms the 11 doctors did not identify. Mia detected cancer spots of Barbara and said that it was not spotted during her scan by the hospital radiologist. Without AI tool's assistance, a cancer patient who consulted at NHS would potentially not have been spotted since she had not experienced any noticeable symptoms. Kairon, Mia's developer, claims that the waiting time could potentially be reduced from 14 days down to 3. Head of Health Information at Cancer Research Institute, Dr. Julia Sharp, said that the increasing number of cancer cases diagnosed each year meant technological innovation would be vital to help improve NHS services and reduce pressure on its staff. Aside from Mia of NHS, Pre-Symptom Health is also trying an AI tool analyzing blood samples looking for early signs of sepsis. Coming right up, Catherine, Princess of Wales, shares some heartbreaking news. Ferrari is back on top of F1 with a 1-2 finish. And rumors of a new James Bond set the internet ablaze. Catch more news in sports and entertainment when we return.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Ay lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Kensington Palace has released a video message from Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, shedding light on the speculations about her whereabouts.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
Crushing rumors and conspiracy theories, King Charles is increasing his public duties in early summer. The 75-year-old king arrived in Clarence House after spending time at Windsor Castle. He went to Buckingham Palace and hosted a handful of veterans of the Korean War to mark the 70th anniversary of the conflict. A royal source said King Charles is keen to quash any suggestions that he would permanently withdraw from public view due to his cancer treatment.
The RC Museum in Paris is taking its visitors back 150 years to when Impressionism started with touches of modern technology. Using virtual reality technology, visitors can visit Paris in the year 1874. The Orsi noted that visitors can walk alongside the founder of Impressionism, Claude Monet, and other French Impressionist artists like Edgar Degas and Paul Cézanne. About 160 paintings, including dozens of masterpieces, were showcased in the exhibit. This includes Monet's Impression Sunrise and the Boulevard des Capucines.
Et les impressionnistes, eux, ce qu'ils veulent faire, c'est peindre le monde tel qu'il est, ce monde en plein changement. On est dans la seconde moitié du 19e siècle, c'est l'industrie, c'est l'époque des grandes villes, de la globalisation, et ils estiment qu'il faut que la peinture en fait reflète ces changements et ce monde moderne. Donc ils vont s'intéresser à des sujets qui n'avaient pas tellement leur place en peinture avant eux, les chemins de fer, les loisirs modernes, le tourisme.
Carlos Sainz led teammate Charles Leclerc to seal a Ferrari 1-2 in Australia as Max Verstappen's winning streak ends in an early retirement. Vin Pasqua has the score.
Carlos Sainz led Charles Leclerc as Ferrari sealed a 1-2 at the Australian Grand Prix following the early retirement of World Championship leader Max Verstappen. Verstappen was attempting to equal his own record 10-race winning streak as he started from pole position in Melbourne, but completed only 3 laps before the brakes on his Red Bull caught fire and forced him out of the contest. Sainz returning to action, having missed the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix after undergoing appendix surgery little more than 2 weeks earlier, took full advantage of the opportunity as he calmly controlled the race from the front to stay clear of Leclerc. The Spaniard, who ended Verstappen's record streak in Singapore last year, is the only driver other than the Dutchman to have won any of the last 21 F1 races. Lando Norris took third to claim his first podium of the season ahead of McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri, while Verstappen's Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez was unable to apply pressure to the leaders as he took fifth. Verstappen, seeking a 4th successive driver's title, remains top of the standings but leads Leclerc, who claimed an extra point for setting the fastest lap of the race by just 4 points. Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso benefited from pitting under a virtual safety car caused by the retirement of Lewis Hamilton on lap 17 to finish 6th on track, but dropped to 8th after being given a 20-second penalty for potentially dangerous driving. George Russell crashed out after losing control of his car as he rapidly closed on Alonso on the approach to turn 6, completing a double DNF for Mercedes.
George Russell with a massive accident.
Lance Stroll was promoted to 6th as a result of his Aston Martin teammate's penalty as Yuki Tsunoda completed an impressive weekend by claiming 7th for RB. Haas duo Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen completed the top 10, scoring crucial Constructors' Championship points for the team. Reporting for Sports, Vin Pasqua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Shohei Otani plans to speak to the media for the first time since illegal gambling and theft allegations that involved the Los Angeles Dodgers star and his interpreter during a team trip in South Korea emerged. Dodger manager Dave Roberts said, and I quote, "It's the right thing to do. I'm happy he's going to speak to what he knows and give his thoughts on the whole situation. I think it will give us all a little bit more clarity." Roberts said Otani had not addressed the situation with his Dodgers teammates as a group. Roberts endorsed Otani addressing the matter publicly, citing that it was the two-way superstar's decision to do so. Last week, the Dodgers fired Ipei Mizuhara after allegations that he was involved in the massive theft of millions of dollars from Otani to pay an illegal bookmaker in Orange County.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is the latest actor reportedly offered a license to kill by His Majesty's Secret Service following the footsteps of Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig, who took up the mantle for 15 years. The Bullet Train breakout star is no stranger to action movies, and 33 is a good age to take over the titular James Bond role, as producers likely want a 10-year commitment to the role. Since Craig announced that he was hanging up his tuxedo after 5 outings as 007, there has been frenzied speculation over which actor will take the coveted role. Speculating about the next Bond is a frequent subject, leading Britain's top actors to formulate different strategies and responses to navigate the topic during interviews. One of the foremost names in the frame over the past few years has been Idris Elba, though producers say that the Luther star has ruled himself out. Another name that comes up frequently is Henry Cavill, but the Man of Steel himself has stayed silent about all things Bond-related, despite his fans being quite vocal on the internet. Inception and Dunkirk star Tom Hardy was touted as the next Bond back in 2015, though he claimed to have heard nothing about press speculation. For months, James Bond fans had been theorizing who would step into the role, with names such as Ray-John Page, Theo James, Barry Keoghan, and Cillian Murphy in the mix. And to send you off this Monday night, here's a quote from British model Kate Moss. "What people say isn't going to stop me. I have to do things for myself."
And even though so many people can have different opinions about you, you really know yourself best.
And of course, Kate Moss was a game changer in her modeling career in the 90s. She wasn't very tall and she had gap teeth, but she looked beautiful just the way she was.
Yes, I'm sure so many people told her that she's not going to make it, but she didn't listen. She knew what she was worth.
And look at the success that she was. For those of you who are still on the road right this moment, please don't fail to tune in to Eagle FM 95.5.
You can also catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alagao Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.